Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome to the Toned and Toneful video podcast, episode number 12. And today we're going to be talking about journaling for mental clarity and 3 tips that I think that will help you out with that. So first off, I think that this is such an important thing that you can do in your life, is adding journaling. I've been journaling for about the last 3 to 4 years very, very consistently, maybe every 1 to 3 days. And I've noticed how much an improvement it's made in my life for my emotional stability and decision making, my ability to play music, and also, quite interestingly enough, my ability to storytell. So I wanted to share with you guys some tips that I thought were very useful in making journaling not only something that you could do every day to relieve stress or be something that you can be committed to for your mental health, but also something that can be a tool to help guide you in planning your life, because journaling reveals a lot of clues about ourselves to clues to ourselves about ourselves, because it's, when you are able to look at that, you'll see. So I wanted to give you guys 3 tips for that. And the first tip is going to be release. So I think that journaling is something that's supposed to be a really good release. And I think that the way that we can start with that, and I think you're going to think this is an interesting suggestion for release right off the top, is going to be our posture. So before we even start journaling, is your chair at the right height where your knees are at a 90-degree angle so that your knees are like this? So these are your feet down here. These are your knees going into the chair. Are you able to sit? And when you're riding over, is your lower back really, really bent over? Are you hunched? Or are you able to be straight? Because these are the beginnings of for you to not feel inflamed and for you to feel in a flow, I think the first thing we have to do is get our body in that, so then our mind isn't jumping around. And I think the second thing that we can work on right after we get our posture just right, so say you've got your seat set up, you're able to lean over and you're able to do your stuff. The next thing you might want to think about is your breathing. Are you breathing at a consistent rate that's keeping you at a heart rate that's calm and that you're able to focus at? This might be different for every single person, and probably is to some degree, but I imagine there's a range that's comfortable that keeps people in a place where they can think, and it keeps people in a place where they can write, or they can read, or they can focus. So what we're trying to do is get our breathing in a rate where we can focus. So you need to find that. And one of the big things I've noticed too, and I've mentioned this in episodes before, is that some people do not breathe in all the way and exhale all the way. Remember that when we breathe in all the way and exhale all the way, we're not holding on to any, carbon dioxide or anything inside of our body that needs to be out, that needs to be let out. It gives us more space for more oxygen and more retention of blood flow in our body. Now, after we've got our body posture right and our breathing right, to me, one of the biggest, most helpful things in a journal is just to write. But it's not to have a specific goal in mind. Maybe you start off by writing fears. Maybe you're writing what you think is beautiful in the day. Maybe you're being a thankful person. Maybe you're writing what's made you angry. But no matter what it is, just start writing it. It doesn't need to have a poetic form. It doesn't necessarily need to be artistic. The idea is to get writing and get the brain moving in a way where it is making a thought and bringing that into literal life. So we need to first take that and bring that into literal life. Now, you can be writing in a journal that's a regular journal. You can take paper, which is my preferred method. I've tried the digital method, but I was going to say you can also do digital if you like to do a video, or you like to do something more along the lines of you type it in your notepad inside your cell phone. You can give that a try. But there's varying results on that, and you might find that when you're working on your projects that way, to me, I just felt a little more disconnected than reading my own handwriting, building strength in my hand, kind of building my speed of thought with how fast I can write, with how fast I can express it. And over time, it becomes quicker and quicker. You'll just notice, you're just like, wow, I can write and think the idea quicker and get it to something faster. So I think that's really good, because we're writing with no judgment. We're looking at our pure creativity, something that helps our storytelling, just that pure creativity. Just when you're writing, you have certain ways of kind of phrasing things or doing things. So take note of that. And so you're just releasing, you're just writing with no judgment. You're writing what you're feeling, you're writing what you're thinking. Some people are going to write more about their day. Some people are going to write about their goals. Everyone's mission is going to be a little different, but this is going to give you a place for it to be. And which leads to my second suggestion, because now that you've got it written down, you're in the proper posture, you've done all your stuff. Over time, you're going to have a collection of journals. It's going to build up to the point where now you have 3 months, 6 months worth of material that has now just been written day by day. And I recommend you do this first thing in the morning. Before you leave your room, before you check your cell phone. Really want to really highlight that. I'm sorry, I should have actually brought that up earlier. You really want to be making sure not to look at your cell phone, not to look at any external information before you start writing this down. This is just coming from you. This is just right from you. And this journaling session doesn't need to be 5 hours. Anywhere between 5 to 11 minutes, you might already write a whole page. You'll notice it comes up pretty quick. So just make sure that you, like, before you do anything else, that you're just going right. You're waking up and you're writing in that journal with no judgment, getting proper posture and proper breathing. This might lead into you doing your workout or your yoga session right after, which could be great. Now, again, back onto the second tip. The second tip is observe. Over time, now that you've had all these journals, you're going to be able to observe what's happened. You're going to be able to read these past journals and go, like, what kind of path am I on? Whether it's my goals, whether it's my worries, you're going to start noticing that a huge amount of clues are starting to present themselves. Some of them you'll realize that are consistent fears or consistent worries, you might notice you're not addressing. You might notice that the reason that they're staying a fear and that they're staying where they are in your life is you're not actually doing something to make it go away. It's more put in a position where you're like, oh, this is not good. And so you kind of shuffling it away. And you might notice on smaller projects, you're getting them all done. Maybe on like the little day-to-day things, you're getting that all taken care of, where it's very obvious that these bigger missions are not getting taken care of. Or it can be inversed. Maybe you're the person working on the big project, but you're letting so many day-to-day things fall aside. Maybe you're not paying attention to your family. Maybe you're not, addressing your own personal feelings, like your health. Or you're not addressing that you feel bad about something and you haven't made any solutions for it. So reading this is a really great place to adapt your strategies towards your life. If every day you're feeling bad in the same way, it would be very, very logical to start making changes at this point, because we all know what crazy people do. They do the same thing over and over, and expect different results. We can't be doing stuff like that. We can't be expecting different results while doing the same thing over and over and then wondering why the result won't change. We can't be like that. We've got to look back and go, wow, like I might feel like I'm doing something about this situation, but I'm actually not really doing as much as I think I am, because after looking at journals for 6 months and realizing where I am, I thought I would have handled a little of that, especially in some way. So this can help us adapt our plans. If you're journaling every day about goals that you have and you're noticing, wow, like I'm not maybe playing my music enough every day, like I'm not working on it 2 to 3 hours per day, or I'm not getting my workout in and making sure to take care of my body health so that my body is there for me in 10 years. I just want to put that hour every day so it's healthy, so that in 10 years, I'm still playing music just as good and just as competently and not faltering because of physical ailments or physical loss, like you're not as muscular, so you can't actually play as quick, or you've hurt yourself more times now because your body is fatigued easier. So let's observe, because we have all this journal information. I mean, one of the special things about being a human being in our experience and our existence is looking at our own storytelling, and you can tell that too, because you're reading back on these journals and you're like, wow, like this is stuff I've written, this is stuff I've worked on, and these are where I've been in my life, and these are where my emotions have been. And you realize you have a lot clearer picture of who you are. So the self-realization comes from this. So I think that's really important for you to actually have a realistic grip of where you are. Which brings me on to my third suggestion and third tip from journaling for mental clarity. Again, this is for mental clarity. This, again, you can do it for emotional reasons or other reasons, but this is to help our clarity of what we're dealing with in our life. We can repurpose and reimagine our path. So I want you to learn to repurpose. So step 1, release. Step 2, observe. Step 3, repurpose. So repurposing and reimagining our path is so important in our life. That doesn't mean that we're stopping what we're doing. What we're doing is we're like reintroducing the information at hand and then making adjustments so that the trajectory and the goal is in the right place. So say, for example, earlier this year, I was planning on having a release for you guys by this time in the year. The goal was September. I got in a bike accident in July. By the sheer nature of me not having the song recorded yet and having gotten an accident, that goal needed to be readjusted. But at the exact same time, Toned and Toneful has been something that's been on my mind for over 2 years that has been scooted under the rug. Something that I've been like, oh, I'm going to make videos and it's going to talk about the different things I've learned about in metaphysical and personal experience that we can use to become better people and musicians. Like the whole goal of that was that. But I, at first, just kept scooting that aside. But once I got hurt, I had to repurpose my goals. I had to rechange what I was doing. And once I got to that point, I learned a lot. And the thing that I learned was you need to be doing something that is purposed at the correct time for you. If you're injured, Tone and Toneful is something that's doable. Like maybe you don't have like hands to like play guitar and stuff, but you can set up a microphone and get things going. You can do this right. You can set up a light and screw the light bulb in and get it, the lighting correct for a room. These are things I know, so let's get it done. So that repurpose of myself gave me a whole new reason for the time being while I was healing up. And now I'm able to play guitar again and I'm working on the songs and I'm getting ready to figure out when to purpose the time to release it and how to properly exemplify that for you guys. And once again, it's just always about looking back at what's happened, where I'm currently at, and what I can do. And what do you learn from these different situations that you've been in? Because these situations are something to really, like your life is something to learn from. But there's one thing I got to tell you though, you got to be careful. You got to be like a scientist. Because when we're close to our life, we're close to ourselves. It's really easy to judge it like the craziest judge because you know everything. But you really need to look at the situation at hand and use your critical thinking to think about how to repurpose this. If your friend fell off a bike, Chris, and they were a guitar player and they had told you the idea of doing a podcast or they told you the idea of doing videos about, metaphysical, spiritual, practical subjects that can help people be better, I would tell them to work on that because that would be what they can do right now until further notice of how their hand is doing and they did their physical therapy. Lucky for me, I healed up. I get to play. I get to still shred. I'm so thankful. And I cannot wait to share that with you guys, to be out of the box of not having music released and not playing shows. I've been working way too hard on music to not be delivering that to you guys and enjoying what it is to share with you guys and what it is to be with you guys in music. So remember that we can repurpose our goals and we can use our critical scientific thinking, almost be a scientist of ourself in the nature, be a scientist of ourself in a way to look at our nature, to look at the nature of ourself and to devise that into something that can be useful, devise that into something that can actually work for you because every one of us is given so many skills in life that literally are there to help us. And sometimes we're not uncovering them or sometimes they're just, you're not uncovering them or sometimes they're there in your plain sight, but you're not utilizing them because you're not having a place to observe that. So I think that's why your mental clarity can go up from journaling. And there's just a couple more things that I wanted to say that I think also are just side things that are benefits from journaling like this. If you're doing it every 1 to 3 days, you're being very specific about it. You're being very good about not watching any information beforehand. You're going directly into the journaling and you're just kind of just coming from the mind, spirit, and heart all together. I think that your discipline will go up for one because the natural habit of a person is to wake up, go through their phone, sit around. But I think the bad thing about that is you see what everyone did last night. You see all the likes that they have. You're formulating in your head what you need to do. You need to formulate it from within yourself. So when you offer things to the world, it's from a true, genuine place. I think that also it really brings up our daily like routine. Like if you need to brush your teeth every day, you need to journal every day, you need to brush your hair every day, you need to get like yourself cleaned every day. These are part of that to keep you in a place where you're maintaining your garden, like I talked about before, like in another episode a long time ago, in episode number 5, the self-discipline, maintaining your garden. And if you're going to be doing that, you really need to be aware that everything that you do consistently and you observe yourself consistently and work on yourself, it's gonna pay off. Maybe 1 month, okay, whatever. 2 months, you notice you know yourself better. You know you're gonna go eat that cookie when you're gonna eat the cookie, so you know how to avoid that. You know you're gonna be upset, and your way of dealing with it is coming home and watching TV all night and not playing your instrument, and that's not a solution. We need to be playing our instrument. Also, I think another thing that we can notice about this is improved storytelling. You're going to become a better storyteller when you write down what's going on in your life every day and try to re-explain that to yourself. Eventually, when you read them back, you're going to be like, oh, I wanted to read in a certain way, but you'll write that in a certain way from your nature. So I think that's something to develop, is our storytelling. Just like our last episode, episode 11, storytelling. So these are things that I think are really awesome with the journaling. And I think if you want to take it to the next level, do it with your instrument every day. See where you are when you improvise and play chords and just play right from the brain every day. And really go for something just different and try to, if the day is cloudy and you notice you want to use a chorus and a delay, then just do that and record it for 15 minutes, just what you're playing. You'd be surprised how many really wonderful things you've played before that you probably missed out on because you just didn't get that initial reaction to how you felt like when you turned on the pedal, or how you felt when you initially heard that sound. So like it's just like there's this connection that first time that is so intense. So I think that we always need to be building on that and building our connection with ourselves. And I think journaling is a great way to do it. There's lots of ways to do it, but I think journaling is a really great way to observe ourselves and have a daily, easy, accountable way to talk to ourselves and look at our life. So I want to thank you guys today for hanging out with me for episode number 12 of the Toned and Toneful video podcast. This episode being Journal for Mental Clarity and 3 tips from me. Toned and Toneful.